Hey guys, Kathy here, your Mani Maniac. I've got my New Year's Eve Mani on. I am loving it. Looks so good, so sparkly. I'm going to show you how I did it. All right, everybody, welcome to New Year's Eve. Getting ready for 2019. Gonna bling in the new year here. I'm going to show you how I did this Mani. So basically, you can see that I've got two sparkle colors here. This is a Sparkle & Co. Confetti Popped. This is a subscription color. I've got also another subscription color, Bling in the New Year, on my ring finger here. That's the silver. And then I'm going to do an ombre on my two other fingers. So I've got another Confetti Popped. And then my thumb and my middle finger are going to be an ombre with dip 96, which is raspberry wine, and then the ombre of the Confetti Popped on top. So you can see I've started on this. I've got my pinky and ring fingers done. Since these two are basically the same, I'm just going to do one Confetti Popped on my pointer finger, and then I'm going to do the ombre on my middle finger just like I have on my other. So with these two, you'll be able to complete the whole Mani. So let's get started here. So what we're going to do is I've already prepped, filed my nails. I've actually done 3/4 with the base bond and then dipped it into the clear powder just to give it a little bit of a base. So next up, I'm going to take the base bond and do my whole finger here. You don't want to flood your cuticles, so as always, just be real careful. You want to get all the way to the edges and make sure that it coats, but you want it to be as thin as possible. That way it doesn't feel too chunky, especially because we're doing quite a few layers here. And so we're going to start with the raspberry wine here, and that's going to just be a dip right in, wiggle around a little bit, you can see. So that gets a nice coat to it. We're just going to tap off the excess. And then I'm just going to give it a quick second here too. Got a little piece stuck. So just give that a quick second, and then I'm going to go ahead and just brush off the excess, not too hard. And then we're going to go straight in with another coat of the base bond right over top. We're going to do 2 coats of the base color just so that we get a nice color to it. And we don't, again, not too much base bond. We want to make sure it coats everywhere, but as thin as possible. So I just give it a couple extra wipes across here. Pull that all the way across. And then I'm going to wipe off my brush because that raspberry color is quite strong. Sorry about the dogs. And then we're going to go ahead and dip again into that raspberry wine. We're going to move on to an ombre. Now, just like I showed you last week, we did the ombre with holiday lights. And so we're going to need just a eyeshadow brush. Again, this is just an e.l.f. brush from Target for $3. But I like the way it fans, and it's the bristles, there's enough of them, and they're bushy enough to pick up a good amount of the powder. So, all right. So now that's kind of set. We're going to go ahead and just, again, brush off the excess. So now we're going to go in for our ombre. Now, the way we're going to do this is the same as we did last week. We're going to do the base bond over the whole nail. And then we're going to go sprinkle the ombre where we want it. And you can do this on the tip or at the base of your nail. It doesn't matter, whichever way is the look that you want to create. Want to get a decent amount, again, not too thick, but we want to make sure we get good coverage. Give it a little wipe. Then we're going to dip right in here, and then since I'm going it to the base of my nail, I'm going to tip downward. Make sure you twist your nail, and you want to do this fairly quickly so that it will stick before it dries up too much. Just, put it on there how you want it. Once that's done, I'm going to tap off the excess and real quickly dip into the clear. Again, I'm not going to tap over the clear because any sparkles that fall off, I don't want them to go in there. In fact, if any get in here, and the raspberry wine kind of gets in here too because it's a pretty dark color. I just use my brush, a clean brush. This is not the same one I was dipping in here before. to go ahead and clear that up. So you can see we've got the ombre starting on there. Looking good. So we're just gonna, now that that's had a minute, we're gonna just do a quick brush. Another thing I do too is just tap down the these big chunky glitters, the sequins. They tend to stick up a little bit, so I'm just gonna do one more coat for the ombre so we get this nice representation of all the colors here. Same as last time, we're gonna dip, twist, make sure that's in there good, and then do a little pat down here just to make sure they're flat because it's our last dip of the ombre. Little tap into the clear and then tap again. So that clear is going to fill in any of the base bond that didn't catch glitter. So that keeps it giving us a nice smooth surface so that it doesn't come out chunky. Also, putting the clear over top, which we're going to do now, kind of encapsulates those sequins or the glitter. So we're just going to do one more of the base bond here and just a thin coat because we're just going to put some clear on here. And this way, I keep calling them crystals, the sequins or the glitter pieces are under that clear. So now when we file, we're not filing right on top of the glitter. We're not going to scratch it or pull it all off of there. So now that clear is on there. So this is a lot of layers. So this is a little bit thicker of a mani than I typically do, but we're going to buff it down a little bit. So make sure and shape it. So now that that's set there, I've got my sequins laying flat. I'm going to do the solidify. You want to use a decent amount of solidify so that it gets hard, because next up we are going to file and buff. So I'll show you how I do that. So I use an e-file. As I mentioned, I am not a professional nail technician. I've not gone to school for this. I've just been doing it a long time. So you can see we've got our clear over top there. So we're going to give this a nice file. I'll show you as I do this. You want to get all the way around these edges. If you leave the edges too unfiled and chunky, they end up getting caught as your manicure grows out. So we're just going to smooth those. And then I'm going to shape. And I just have, this is a pretty fine grit sandpaper band on here, sanding band. So it's not taking off too much at once. I'd rather do it a little at a time because I'm trying to really shape my nail here because I want it to, you know, I want it to feel natural. I don't want it to feel like too huge. And but if you don't have an e-file, just use a regular buffing block. It will do the same thing. It might take a little longer than this does, but it's just more work moving your hand back and forth basically. It does pretty much the same thing. And I really take my time with this because I want it to be right, because if it's not, I'll be irritated. Because you know, you're always touching things and you can feel your nails and how they feel to you. So definitely want to make sure that it is to my satisfaction. So I'll just run my hand over it and look at it. So I'm looking down onto my nail because I want to make sure that the shape is right. So like this one side looks a little higher. So I'm going to buff that side down a little more than the other perhaps. Looks good. Okay, so you'll see these edges all around my nail here, and the cuticle are all nice and smooth. They're kind of low, so that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little dust, put on our second solidify. It's going to harden that up since we're done with the filing. And look how good that looks already. We haven't even put on the glossy coat yet, and that looks awesome. Okay. So we're going to give that just a minute to dry. While we wait, we're going to go ahead and do our last finger, the Confetti Popped. So this, when it's all glitter like this, and the big chunky pieces of glitter, the little sequins, I do it just a little bit differently. I wouldn't go do the whole manicure one hand at a time. I just do one nail at a time. And these are tips that I got in the group from the owner of the company. So just a coat of base bond. We're going to dip into the Confetti Popped, give it a little tap. I'm going to, again, pat down these sequin pieces because they stick up. And then I'm going to go right into another coat of base bond. And again, not too thick because this is pretty chunky. Just want to real carefully put on another coat. Make sure I don't have any glitter on there. Right into the Confetti Popped again. Give it another tap. And then I'm going to pat that down. And then I'm going to put a coat of Solidify right on top real quickly. Generous amount. Really want it to stay in place here, so make sure that goes all over. There we go. And the reason you do the Solidify right away, which normally, like we didn't do with this one, because these sequins kind of tend to stick up. You want to keep them wet. The owner of Sparkle & Co, Christy, says to keep them wet and that helps them stay down. So normally after Solidify we're going to buff, but I want to put a coat of clear over top so we can buff without running into any of these glitter or sequin pieces. So I'm just waiting for the Solidify because you don't want to mix the Solidify when it's wet with the base bond because it'll ruin it, because the Solidify is what hardens the base bond and the base bond is what makes the powder stick. So we got to build up the layers here. So we've given that a good minute here to dry. Into the clear, and a little tap. So we've done a base coat and then into the clear so that we can buff. So I'm going to go ahead and file again. Same as I did before, so I'll probably fast motion this. Okay, so now another coat of Solidify for our Confetti Popped. Almost done. See, look how good that looks. I haven't even put the glossy coat on yet. Look at that. How sparkly it is. I love it. All right. So give that Solidify just a minute. Get our glossy coat ready here. Going to start with our first nail we did. Too much. The first coat tends to kind of soak in, but by the time you put the second coat, it looks awesome. So pretty. And shiny. All right. And that's it. Our New Year's ready, people. Time to bling in the new year. If you have any questions, please post them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. Check out the other videos on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe so that every week when I do a new manicure, you can check it out. Thanks. We'll see you next time.